Alright guys, hey and welcome back. This is the Red Shadow and this is the second to the last pickup video that I'm going to be doing. This is probably the big one for me in terms of this is my favorite part of my recent pickups. But I think my Blu-rays and movie collection is probably a little bit more than what I've done for this, so I'm saving those for last. So anyway, I don't want to spend too much time just explaining what you're about to see. I'd rather just jump right on in and start showing off the goods. These are my PS4 pickups for, let's say, the last 3 or 4 months. Bolstered a little bit by the fact that recently I've had some extra money, despite the fact that I'm not working, and I even have my tax returns yet to be done. But I have spent a little too much money on stuff, but what are you going to do? You can't take that money with you. So anyway, let's jump right on into this. You can see it's already kind of stacked up here in frame. And I'm just going to start off over here at the far left for me and show off South Park: The Stick of Truth for the PS4. Now, I got South Park: The Fractured But Whole, and one of the things I was excited about with that was that I got a digital copy of this so that I could play it on my PS4. I mentioned in the last pickup video when I was showing off some PS3 games that, you know, until I just replaced my PS3, I couldn't play PS3 games and enjoy them as much. So I was so happy at the idea that I would get to be able to download the original one and finally get to play it. Well, now I don't even have to do the downloading thing. Of course, now I have a PS3 so I could play the original, but this was, I actually paid I think $19 exactly for this, so I didn't think that was such a big deal to actually have it on PS4 disc in my collection. So, let's try to make a good place to put these as I go through them. Next thing I want to show is a game called Redout, and this is the Lightspeed edition. All I can think of on this game is that it's very much like the series I'm going to show next, and this was cheap and it was a suggested buy for me for the next game I'm going to show, so I went ahead and picked it up. Racing games in general are not really my jam anymore, but once again, it's another game in the collection. I might find some time to play around with it, and I may find myself enjoying it, and if not, then, you know, no big deal. I'm not out much. So here's the game that, like I said, it kind of inspired me to pick up that one. And this is another one of these Sony exclusives, so I spent the money on it because I wanted to show my support for it, despite the fact that this has never been a favorite series of mine at all. But this is Wipeout Omega Collection, and it is Wipeout. It's remastered versions of Wipeout HD, Wipeout Fury, and Wipeout 2048. I don't know what systems those were on before. I know Wipeout started on like the original PlayStation, but these are HD remakes of those 3 particular Wipeout games. Alright, these next 2 games are, I think, more popular or well known on the PSP, I want to say, or maybe the Vita, but this is Loco Roco and Loco Roco 2. I don't really like to get download-only games or digital-only games. I have games in this and in future pickups videos that are digital games that finally got physical releases. That's what these are, but these were only released, I believe, in China, because, yeah, it says Chinese and English versions. I think because they were released in Hong Kong, they have the US version, like the US language versions included on these, but there were no physical releases of these over here. Peekaboo. So I managed to pick up both of these for, I think, less than $20 a piece. And I want to say I picked these up through PlayAsia.com, one of the many special little websites I've discovered in the last couple of years that really like to pull money out of my bank account. Alright, next thing I got is Little Nightmares Complete Edition. I own Little Nightmares, I think it was called the 7 edition, There's a box set with the game that also included a little figure of the main character that you play as in this game. But little did I know that there was going to be DLC for this, because I only paid like $30 for that previous version with the little figure. But there was DLC that got released for this game, and because they put it on disc into a complete edition, well, I don't know. This says it has the expansion pass, so it's probably still a download. But between the two of them, I didn't spend all that much more, if maybe not less than what I would have if I had just gotten the online expansion pass or whatever. So anyway, I just thought it was worth picking this up as well. It's probably what I'm going to end up doing with The Witcher 3, because I still haven't played the DLC for Witcher 3, and there's the complete edition of that available, and I'm really just wanting to play the extra content, and I will probably just pony up for that at some point. Alright, here is a game called Outcast Second Contact. I do believe that there was an Outcast game years ago. In fact, I think I either own it on Steam or it's on my wish list, just because it looked like one of those old clunky 90s PC games that I used to play. And this, I guess, is sort of a sequel or a spiritual successor to it. And I've seen some gameplay of it, and it's not smooth, it's not great, but I kind of like those kinds of games. I kind of like taking a chance on it, and this was cheap, so I picked that up. Here's another, like the Loco Roco games and several more games I'm going to show off here. Here is a game that I don't believe was sold in the US, but I got a PAL version of it. Since the PS4s are region free when it comes to the games, as long as you find a game that is in English, unless you want subtitles and you don't mind listening to the foreign languages. But I picked up a few of those games like this one, which is Slain Back to Hell, Back from Hell, which includes a heavy metal soundtrack by former Celtic Frost guitarist Kurt Victor Bryant. I don't know who that is, but this is kind of like one of those 8/16-bit looking side-scrolling types, like a Castlevania or whatever. And I just decided to get it because I like the artwork on it, and it just sounded like it might be kind of interesting. Alright, the next two things kind of go with each other. I do believe that these are games that were released either on DS, 3DS, PSP, PS Vita, and then this was where they got put onto the PS4. So the first one I'm going to show here is called the Nonary or Nonary games, and it's kind of hard to see, I guess, with these games here in the way, but up in the top corner it says Volume 1/1-2 Zero Escape. And then this one here is Zero Time Dilemma, and this is Volume 3 of Zero Escape. So these are sort of like linked, these games are linked together, I believe. Zero Escape Trilogy, I think one of the games for this was the one that had like the numbers 999 something something. I don't know, I'm probably screwing that up, but when I saw that these were all together, and it was, I don't even think it was the cost of like a full $60 game to get both of these, I had to jump on those. Alright, here's a game called Adam's Venture Origins. I've looked at this one for a long time. This is a Sodesco or Soedesco game. These are usually budget games. They're usually not extremely great. I've looked at reviews for this and they weren't outstanding, but they always seem to end up having some sort of redeeming quality to them that I end up picking them up. This one came out and it was like a $50 game when it first was released, so I waited till it got a little bit cheaper before I finally jumped on a copy of that. Here was one that I didn't think I was going to pick up. I had really mixed feelings, and probably even still to this day I have mixed feelings about this. This is Broken Age. And this one, amazingly enough, I don't think, even though this is marked on the back here as being a limited run game. I don't think I got this through them, and I also don't think I got this from some sort of a reseller. I'm not even sure at this point where I got it. Maybe it was PlayAsia. But this does have a nice slip cover on it, and I like that. It's a Double Fine Productions game, meaning it's from Tim Schafer. I think this had originally was a Kickstarter game or something like that, and it got crowdfunded. Like I said, for the longest time I wasn't even sure that I was going to pick it up till I saw it for a decent price and went ahead and snagged it. Alright, I have a game here called Yonder, the Cloudcatcher Chronicles. Basically was just a game I saw on Amazon, looked interesting, read into it, thought it's worth a try, and relatively cheap I found it, and so I grabbed that. There's a lot of games in this big stack. It's why there's so many games, that I have to show off, because I found a lot of stuff that was at really good prices and really good deals. This one is something from East Asia Soft, and I think it's another game I got off of PlayAsia, but it's called Unepic. It's really cool. It says, expect the unexpected in this 2D RPG platform game. So it's like a platforming game from like Nintendo era style graphics and whatnot, but incorporating a lot of newer gameplay ideas, and I heard it's supposed to be pretty tough, which means I don't know that I'm going to be playing it very often, but I will have to try it out just because I love it. To me, it's a very unique melding of RPG and platformer. Alright, here's some recognizable games, I'm sure. Here's Dragon Quest Builders. This is Day 1 edition. I bought this one not that long ago, but my daughter and I played the demo for it last year. The demo was available free to download, and it gave you quite a bit of time in the game to play around with it. And basically, to me, it's like Minecraft with more of a story, and it's set in the Dragon Quest universe, or at least stylistically so it looks like a Dragon Quest game. So it's been one of the few PS4 games that my daughter was interested in, and now we've got a full copy to play around with. And then staying on the Dragon Quest bandwagon, I went ahead and finally picked up Dragon Quest Heroes, The World Tree's Woe, and The Blight Below, and Dragon Quest Heroes 2. I kind of want to check these out at some point. I watch Happy Console Gamer, and he's a big Dragon Quest fan, and he liked these games when they came out. He actually got their Japanese versions first and played them before the English versions came out. Here's something that I've been wanting to get ever since I heard that you could finally sort of play this game single player offline without having to be even thinking about playing it online with anybody else. That's Star Wars Battlefront Ultimate Edition. This is the first Battlefront game, not the new one that's being plagued with all the controversy and nonsense over loot boxes and stuff. But this is the very first game. The Ultimate Edition means that it has 30 plus maps, 14 heroes, and 14 modes. It also includes the VR mission, but I don't have the VR, and I'm not going to be doing that. But as soon as I knew that you could get in here and play this game with AI-controlled bots on all the different maps, I thought now it's finally time to jump in, because I've heard the graphics, sound, and the feel to the game are all amazing. And then up next we have Mortal Kombat XL. Not much to say. I've always been a Mortal Kombat fan, even as my love and interest in fighting games has waned. I've pretty much picked up all the Mortal Kombat games. This is the XL version, meaning it has all the characters and extras all included in one. And I do believe it should be all on disc and not, no code of any kind. It's all included on the disc. That's still a very important thing for me. Alright, let's just keep right on going here. Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate Edition. I loved Sniper Elite 4, and so I wanted to get 3. It's the only other Sniper Elite game that's on PS4, and get a chance to play that at some point. Up next we have Dishonored. This is the Death of the Outsider much like Uncharted 4 had the Lost Legacy, kind of like a spin-off game, not a full game, but I guess in their opinion more than just a DLC. So it got its own physical release. This is the one for Dishonored. I believe this is the spin-off from Dishonored 2, even though it doesn't say 2 on it. But I had to grab that. Alright, here's another Assassin's Creed game, another one of the weird offshoot games, Assassin's Creed Chronicles. Comes with 3 games, India, China, and Russia. And these are all like side-scrolling, almost like platform games. And I kind of resisted against these, and I think it came out at like $30 or $40, so it wasn't a full $60 release, but I was finally able to get this for a decent price, and decided that I couldn't pass it up. I got Zombie Army Trilogy, just a game that I've been interested in and wanted to play for a while, and always go and try and check and make sure that it isn't something that's online only, and there's offline content in that. I got King's Quest, the complete collection. About all I can say about this is that it's a similar episodic choose-your-own-adventure like a Telltale Games, Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, or Life is Strange. So I had to grab that and see if it was any good when compared to its cousins. Here's a game that I'm a little upset about, not in that I have it. I'm glad that I have it. This is Cat Quest. I am pretty sure I had this game pre-ordered for the longest time at around $20. And then for whatever reason or another, I decided to cancel my pre-order. I guess maybe I talked myself out of it. I mean, it's got a cutesy visual style. I think it's mainly the gameplay that I was a little worried about. But for whatever reason or another, I canceled the pre-order. Then it came out, and I was having that regret, I guess a reverse version of buyer's remorse, and I decided that I really wanted the game. So I went back online to try to pick it up, and the game had jumped up from like a $20 price point to about $50 to $60. And I'm guessing it was just all resellers. But I wasn't going to pay that price, and it only took a couple of weeks. I managed to get the game when it had hovered back down around $29.99. So I picked it up then. A couple weeks later, it was $20 again. Crazy. Okay, here's something that I skipped at first. I guess I just thought it looked a little too Japanese and not as much fun as I was hoping from this style of a game. But then I watched some gameplay videos and I realized I really need to get this. This is Yomawari Midnight Shadows, and it's like a survival horror game, but it's got one of those kind of simple throwback style, like 16-bit looks to it. And after like I said, I saw some actual in-motion gameplay, I was like, yeah, I want to get that. So I didn't get the box set version, like a limited edition version that it had when it first came out, but this was between $20 and $25, I think, so I can't complain. Okay, so if you saw my anime pickups, then you'll know that I bought a few animes that were tied into games. And I mentioned in that video that I would be showing off the games in this video, and I'm mentioning in this video, if you see this first, that I'm showing off the corresponding anime in that video. Anyway, what I have here is Akiba's Trip, Undead and Undressed. And I understand the wordplay on that, Akiba's Trip, but it's due to some of the content of the game. People would say Akiba Strip. I believe that this is a PSP/PS Vita game that's been sort of like updated, or maybe even somewhat remastered onto the PS4. And then there was Akiba's Beat. And like I said, I got I don't know if it's the complete series or if it's just like the complete first season of the anime just recently when it came out. So got all the content from that all together. And we'll jump right into the next one that's like that. Showed the anime series of this, and then in the other video game pickups video I did with non-PS4 stuff, I showed off PS3 game called Steins Gate, and on PS4 there's Steins Gate Zero, and they all connect together somehow. I hope that it's fun and entertaining. Now here's a game sort of like the Blaze Blue box game that I got when I showed that in my other pickups video. It's a fighting game that I really only bought because it was cheap. A lot of times when I see something that's under $10 for a console that I'm into, even if it's for a series I know nothing about, I might just grab it. This is Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator, or maybe it's just XRD, but I'm familiar with the Guilty Gear series. I know that some of these games are really, really good, but I really honestly just, this is padding for my shelves to have more games on them because it was less than $10. Maybe one of these days I'll play it and be like, oh, I really did get my money's worth. Here's a game that I struggled with because it's sort of a Diablo-esque game, and I'm going to be showing some other games like that here in a little bit. So bear this in mind, that those kind of games, while I played some Diablo back in the day and kind of enjoyed it, I lost my taste for them over the years. So it's rare that I buy games of this style anymore. But this one was cheap and comes with, I believe, 2 different games. It's Victor Vran. This is the Victor Vran Overkill Edition. And I do believe that what this comes with is original Victor Vran game, and then, or maybe this is just DLC, but it says Fractured Worlds and Motorhead Through the Ages. And I heard about this recently, I think from a Metal Jesus Rocks video. The Motorhead one has a lot of Motorhead fan service. Even in the corner here you can see Lemmy from Motorhead, who I believe has passed away at this point. But like I said, this was a $20 or less game that I decided to just go ahead and splurge on. Now I'll leave it up to you on how this game's name is pronounced. This is the game. I picked this up because Funhouse, one of my all-time favorite YouTube channels, they've actually been doing a Let's Play series on this game for over a year now. They just do a new episode every couple of months. They started referring to it as Alakini's gun, but maybe it's Alakine. It's hard to say. I would compare this because they started playing this around the time that they were finishing up a version of Hitman. I would say that this is sort of like a poor man's version of Hitman. Plays kind of similar and has you like infiltrating levels and trying to take out targets and whatnot. It's not a great game, but it's still, surprisingly enough, somewhat competent. So I picked that one up because I got it cheap. I don't know, I'm a little upset with this one here. I wanted to get this game. It's called Root Letter. But what's upsetting me about it is I bought it on Amazon from a seller that was advertising an NTSC copy. It said M for mature down here. Pretty sure it was a mature rated game, or whatever its rating was. It was very clear in the pictures and everything that I saw that it was an NTSC copy. And then when I get the game in the mail, it's this PAL copy, which means it probably will still be in whatever English that it is. I have picked up a few of these games. Even NTSC games aren't necessarily going to be English voice acted. They may just have subtitles. So I went ahead and got this one because it's a mystery game. I just hope I don't pay for it. If there's anything on the NTSC copy that this one's missing, or just the fact that there's an NTSC copy of a game out there and I didn't get that version. That's my sad story with that. Now here's a game that I had pre-ordered for a long time, and then I canceled my pre-order, and then once again I regretted, as it often happens. This is the Silver Case. This is a weird, like, old late 90s. I think this is a Suda51 game, like his first game or something like that. So I was interested in getting it, and I pre-ordered it, and then like a dummy, I canceled the pre-order, and now I managed to pick it up. Next up, I have Valkyria Revolution. I'm going to try to start kicking this in the butt because my battery is looking like it's going to die soon. So if it does start to flash on me, I'll just cut the video off and do the pickups in 2 videos. Anyway, here's Valkyria Revolution. I know there's Valkyria Chronicles games out there. I know that there are some games, PS3 and whatnot, that are supposed to be decent. A little bit of a game style that I'm not really into. But this was really cheap, so I snagged it up. And I've read that a lot of people don't like this game, so I may have bought a dud, but at least I didn't pay much for it. Oh, here's a game that I've waited so long for. The next couple of games are all this way, but this one probably more so than any other. Game of the Year edition of Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm really looking forward to playing the Dragon Age games, probably this one most of all. After playing stuff like the Fallout games and Skyrim and Witcher 3, I want another really like big open world RPG, and in this case, like Skyrim and all them, a Western RPG game. I could really handle another fun experience like this. So I finally got this for less than the $40 price that it had been leveled out at for a long time. 2 Final Fantasy games to show here now. Final Fantasy Type 0 HD Day 1 Edition. This is a PSP or Vita game that was exclusive to the handhelds, and then they finally brought it over to PS4 in an HD version. And I've been waiting to get this for so long that I remember a time when I was like, ooh, I can play the demo for Final Fantasy 15 before the game came out. Well, I just got this recently, and Final Fantasy 15 has now been out for over a year. And then here's another one that I've waited so long for, and I just kind of waited for the price to get down in a more comfortable range for me. But this is the Day 1 edition of World of Final Fantasy, the game that I guess is kind of like a Final Fantasy meets Pokemon / Monster Hunter Trainer type game, and it's filled with a lot of chibi Final Fantasy characters. I'm expecting this to be fun for the fan service for those of us who are big fans of some of the older Final Fantasy games. Like, for me, probably 6, 7, 8, 9 would be my favorite. That would be the wheelhouse of Final Fantasy games that were really awesome. But I'll be excited to see whatever that game is all about. Alright, churning some more. So I've got, well, let's show another big RPG game here real quick. This is Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana, and I found out today, at least from a source I consider to be credible, that it's not, even though it's spelled D-A-N-A like Dana, it's supposed to be pronounced Donna. The Ys games, always been really interested in them. As a follower of Happy Console Gamer and several other people on YouTube who collect older games and play older games, the Ys games have always been pretty... they have a good reputation amongst people whose opinions I care about. So I wanted to get this game, and I was still able to get this Day 1 Steelbook Edition. This is probably one of the more pricier things that I bought over the last few months, because this was still like a $70 game, I believe. Thanks, computer. So I snagged this one up brand new, still in the shrink wrap and all that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and show this whole stack of games right here. Well, it's only 4 games, but still. Because I showed a game in the previous pickup video for the PS3, Demon Souls, well, it's probably a good thing that I show that I really am trying to complete the Souls series. So what I have here is Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. This is the all the DLC, greatest Game of the Year version of Dark Souls 2 on the PS4. All that stuff together. And then we have the complete edition of Dark Souls 3, the Fire Fades edition. Got all of that. I think it's in May, or maybe it's in March. The very first Dark Souls game is going to be getting a remastered version onto the, I think, Xbox One and the Switch. So I'm going to have all the rest of the Souls games, and then I have that one pre-ordered to complete the set. And then I've got a couple of games that I've read are very Dark Souls-esque. So the first one is Lords of the Fallen, and this is the complete edition. It comes with Ancient Labyrinth, Demonic Weapons Pack, the Monk's Decipher, Lionheart Pack, the Foundation Boost, and the Arcane Boost. I don't know what any of that stuff is, but this is a... I was thinking this was by a bigger studio than I'd heard of. Apparently not. But like I said, just kind of somebody else's attempt at a Dark Souls style game. And then I didn't know at first that this one was supposed to be Dark Souls-like. I thought that this was more of an online battling game. But this is The Surge, and I guess you could call this Dark Souls in a sci-fi setting. So I got this for cheap and picked it up. Like I said, one of these days I may check to see whether or not that stuff is any fun. I'm going to knock out this little stack that's sitting over here. This is a whole bunch of games that are thematically similar in that they are all racing slash motorcycling slash off-road slash just, like I said, racing stuff. So up first we've got a game here called Ride. As you can see, it's basically a motorcycle racing game. And then there's Ride 2. This is Day 1 edition. Then we have Baja Edge of Control HD. I have the WRC 7, the official game. That is the World Rally Championship, if I remember correctly. Like I said, for the most part with these, I was trying to go for a theme of racing, especially like off-road style racing. But I got a few things that are kind of in that wheelhouse, but maybe not necessarily. Here's MXGP3 official motocross video game. I'll go ahead and show this one next because it's more in theme with the motorcycles and all that kind of craziness. This is Road Rage. I paid $12 for this simply because of the fact that I've heard that this may be one of the worst games on the console and one of the worst games in the last several years. I've seen some gameplay of it, and it's just not it's not very realistic. It's one thing to do an arcade style of something. It's another thing for physics-wise vehicles and things to not behave as they should. This game is loaded with that, and like I said, for $12 I bought a shitty game just because of the lulz, I guess. Alright, the next thing I want to show here is a game I didn't even hear of until I stumbled across it on Amazon. This is Assetto Corsa, your racing simulator. And this, as opposed to the next two games, which I think remind me way more of Gran Turismo, its look and whatnot reminds me more of the Forza games. So I think it's kind of cool that maybe somebody decided they would try to get a Forza game onto the PlayStation 4 because Forza is exclusive to Xbox One, or Xbox in general. Whereas Gran Turismo is exclusive to Sony. These are on both consoles, but in my opinion, these are very, very much like Gran Turismo games. We've got Project Cars Complete Edition, excuse me, and Project Cars 2 Day 1 Edition. Alright, I'm going to show these three right here real quick. Now these are games that I'm pretty sure I got all of these from PlayAsia or some other website that's similar to that kind of imports these games, but I may be correct in assuming these all came from PlayAsia. Anyway, first one here is a game called Too Dark. Another one of these sort of like pixelated survival horror games done in like an 8-bit style. This was not released here in the US that I know of, so as you can see it's got the PEGI 18 because it's like the PAL version, and it's a limited edition, so it's got this nice box, and I really liked the plastic wrap that some of these games came in from the company that they came from, so I haven't taken any of that stuff off of them yet, and probably won't until I decide I'm going to buy them. This limited edition one has Too Dark on physical disc. It has a steelbook case, an original soundtrack, and exclusive art book. Alright, next up here we have The Coma Recut. Now this is a little bit less of the... It's still a survival horror like Too Dark, but it's not really pixelated. It's more of an artistic look to it, more of a hand-drawn look. Funhouse, in particular Lawrence from Funhouse, played this on an episode one day, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Then I stumbled across this, and it didn't take long before I realized that this game was that one that he played on an episode. So this is the Coma Recut Limited Edition. It comes with the game, a manual, original soundtrack, and a certificate. And it's, once again, it's in a nice big box, as well as a pretty decent little like plastic baggie that's on it that will stay on there until at which point I decide I want to open it and mess around with the game. And then the last of these big box games, and I think I'm going to make this the last game that I show on this, because I've pretty much split what my PS4 games were in half. So I'm going to end off this video with Caveman Warriors Limited Edition. Another side-scrolling platformer style game. It has a very cartoonish look to it. Not sure how well that'll show on there, but I don't know. I just kind of fell in love with its what it seemed like was its goofy humor and charm. And it's another one of these really nice big box things. All three of these games are all like heavy, like they have weight to them. There's legitimately something cool inside these boxes. This one doesn't even show what's included in this limited edition. So I'm sure it's probably got like art book, soundtracks, any of that kind of stuff. Alright, actually I will show one more thing here, just because it's kind of a big item. And it'll be nice to have this kind of out of the way now and have it shown in a video. I will probably do an unboxing of this at some point down the road. I talked myself out of buying this when it first came out, and I saved some money by doing so, because then there was a sale on this. I think the sale is still going. This is a game from Special Reserve Games, sort of like Limited Run and some of these other companies. They get a digital-only game and release it on a physical copy. And this is the Absolver Prospect Mask with display stand and the game in this box here. You can see it's very tall, covered in artwork. There's a picture of the mask that's included in it. A look at the back, and then another one of the sides. Bottom's pretty nondescript. Top part says, "Open here. Thanks for letting me know." Like I said, I'll probably do a separate unboxing video for this, so I can take the mask out and show you its life-size mask. And then I can put it on my shelf over there with some of my other gaming knickknacks. Alright guys, well thanks for joining me on this. Sorry that it has to be split. I would have kept on going if it wasn't for the fact that my battery is going to die at some point. So after I get a recharge on the battery, I will jump back in here and finish off with the rest of these games, because like I said, I still have 3 stacks of PS4 games roughly about that size to show. Alright, enough rambling. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.